Hello and welcome back to what I read in January. Yes, I'm in my pyjamas, but it's Sunday afternoon. I've got a Negroni Spagliato with Prosecco in it. Let's commence. I read 3 books in January, starting with A Little Place in Prague. This was a library book, so I had to return it, by Julie Kaplan. It was a Christmas book, but I hadn't finished it in December, so I just carried on reading it because there aren't many books that I won't finish. This book was too long. I couldn't wait for it to finish. I was over it. I was done. Was I done because it was January, or was I done because it was too long? It wasn't necessarily Christmassy either. And I actually read a few Christmas books this Christmas. How many times did I say Christmas? Everyone take a sip of their drink when I say Christmas. Yeah, it wasn't necessarily very festive, but I think because it was set in Prague in the winter season, that is why it was being posed as a Christmas book. I'm trying to not give any spoilers, but I felt like it was really unrealistic. And the writing style was fine, but if she'd maybe cut about 100 pages, I think it would have been a lot more engaging. But then would it have been, because I didn't really believe in the concept? I'd love to know if you've read it and what you thought. One thing I did love is I loved being transported to Prague. You know, the food, the culture, the aesthetic and the buildings. I felt she was really good at setting the scene in that way, but I just couldn't wait to turn that last page. I don't get that very often. The second book was 17, a coming of age story by Jo Gibson. Again, another library book, so I don't have a hard copy to show you. This is a memoir about a 17-year-old boy at a private school in England who is groomed and has a relationship with his 30-something-year-old female teacher. And this is back in the 90s, and the law was different back then. Because he was technically over 16, it wasn't illegal for this to happen. Frowned upon, yes, but now it is illegal. You can't abuse your position of power. And this book, I think it's brilliant to share this experience from a different sex. Basically, we often hear stories and we tend to automatically think of it as male teacher, female student, which obviously statistically happens the most, but it isn't the only way in which it happens. And to still appreciate how, when you are so young and so impressionable, how easily you can be manipulated and abused, and how this affects the trajectory of your life during these really important school years. Again, no spoilers, but following his story and what they do with their relationship, and how it is just, you know, the other teachers, students know it's going on, it's just brushed under the carpet, nobody addresses it. It's heartbreaking and heart-wrenching, and you want to scream, especially reading it now with the laws we have now and the awareness and knowledge we have now around the psyche of children, minors, in my opinion. I would really recommend this book. I don't often pick up books by male authors, but he wrote in a way that he wasn't he wasn't writing in a way where you just feel sorry for him, because I did and I didn't. He was writing as somebody who was healing from the experience, who was taking responsibility for the latter years, because I don't think you need to take responsibility when you are a child. I really recommend reading it because I gasped at the latter chapters, and that's all I'm going to say. And then the third book I read was the Wartime Book Club by Kate Thompson. This was my book club book for my online movement membership, AMP, Annie's movement platform, but equally Amp Up Your Life. Classic case of don't judge a book by its cover, because to me, this looks like the kind of book that you'd find at the end of the aisle of a British supermarket. And I would not read those books. Not that there's anything wrong to read those books, and I'm sure they're very well written, but I've always just, you know, surpassed them. This book is, at its core, about female friendship, but it is set in Jersey during World War II. I didn't know Jersey was occupied by the Germans during World War II. Well, I say the Germans, but it was occupied by the Nazi regime. That might be a better way of talking about it. And how they survived under this oppression and the absolute hardship and poverty and trauma that it put the island under, and how people are so resilient, and how people will continue to fight for right and wrong, what they believe in, even if it puts themselves at risk. I cried a lot during this book. I cried for the brave people, the women, the children, and how books and libraries can bring people together, because that is also, well, the Wartime Book Club is what it's centred around. The lady who works in the library and the book club that they fight for, because you used to have to ask permission for groups to be set up, and the risks she takes within her friendship with her best friend, because ultimately there is nothing stronger than female friendship. I know someone's probably going to be like, well, a mother and her child. I have no doubt. But for me, my experiences, I don't have that experience. So my experience would be female friendships. That sort of love knows no limit, no boundaries. And holy macaroni, this book highlights that. It also highlights how bloody strong women are. Like, unbelievably strong and brave and fiery and inspirational. And I urge you to read this book, because it is so much more than a book about war, about occupied Jersey. It is heart-wrenching and heartwarming all in one, and I would love for you to read it. It's a big book. It's like a 500-page book, and actually at the end of the book there's some lovely there's actually quite a lot about the people of Jersey, what happened to the actual postal system in Jersey, because basically the people who worked in the postal service infiltrated the postal system, which is like so illegal, so dangerous during this time, but it was so necessary, because basically people were snitching on their neighbours, but they infiltrated it and they were warning people, and just so brave, so unbelievably brave. Anyway, please read this. It's phenomenal. I'd love to know what you've read in January, what books you recommend in January. I didn't finish my Audible book in January, so that'll probably be in February, because I usually read like an Audible every month as well, but I've listened to podcasts, so I've only got 3 books If you ever want to know what podcasts I listen to as well, I'll be more than happy to share them. That's it. That's it. I'm going to and ah otherwise because I can just go on and on and on. Have a great month in February reading. Let me know what you're reading. I know off the top of my head, my February book club book is How to Kill Your Family for AMP, and I took a couple of books out from the library. I'm going to finish this Audible book, and I also have a non-fiction book I'm reading at the moment, so hopefully I'll be able to let you know in February. Bye bye now.